think that even so, knowing that now, Panda Gaming has to declare their composition, do you think there's a chance that even though they've chosen Tolvaron, which obviously plays very well for the Mage and the Shadow Priest, do you think there's a possibility that if Panda Gaming goes with the Enhanced Shaman and the Feral Druid again, that Method's going to go with some other composition entirely?
I think it's likely that we see Method actually playing that Shadow Priest Mage composition once again. This map is going to give them a lot more room to kite around, get their damage out, and make sure they can survive when they're in trouble. That being said, Panda Gaming can use those pillars to their advantage. I think the composition that they're running, if they do decide to go with that Feral and Enhancement Shaman, once again, it's very durable. They just need to make sure when they don't have cooldowns, they're running and hiding, basically.
So we do have compositions locked in. We're going to be able to take a look. First up is going to be Panda Gaming. We're going to take a look at what they have actually decided to go with. Is it going to be that Enhanced Feral Druid? No. They're actually bringing out the Beast Mastery Hunter as well. Dark Archon Yo going to be playing that Beast Mastery Hunter, PP Cat swapping out from the Feral Druid. Otherwise, it's the same. Saji still on that Holy Paladin and Dao still on the Enhancement Shaman. So they're going with the Beast Cleave. What do you guys think about this comp?
I'm excited. This was something that was run by Splice in the opening week last week, and they did so well with it. It came to a surprise for Method NA, and they beat them within the first 30 seconds, I believe. So I want to see if they have mastered this composition. It is not easy to get bursts like that out consistently, and that's what Splice was able to do last week.
All right, and we will find out what Method EU has now chosen. Now that they know they're going up against that Beast Cleave, where is Method EU going to take this? Are they going to go with that God comp again, with the Mage and Shadow Priest? It looks like yes. They say, okay, we'll stick with the Mage and Shadow Priest going into that Beast Cleave. How do you feel that this comp is going to match up against the Beast Cleave? How do you think this is going to do for them?
I think it's going to do pretty well, specifically because it is Tolvaron. It's weird, though. After talking to Method EU and a lot of the other teams, I feel like Rogue Mage actually is a really good answer to Beast Cleave. They did have the opportunity to run that, but I guess they know better than I do. Maybe this is something they practice, they're very comfortable with, and that's why they're going with this comp. I think that it could go either way.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. They do have Prey on their team, who is one of, if not the best rogue in the world right now. He's just played it so effectively for such a long period of time. So it is an interesting choice going into that Beast Mastery Hunter Enhancement Shaman that they've decided to let Prey sit this one out and keep Frosty on that Shadow Priest instead. So we'll have to see if that ends up paying off for them. Of course, Tolvaron is sort of the God comp homeland. That's kind of where they like to be the most. Just because, like we were saying earlier, the distance between the pillars is really long. It lets them pull the melee out into the open where they can take advantage of their extra range as much as possible, and also stay near the pillars themselves, so that way, if they do get in any trouble, they can quickly run behind. And the pillars are also just massive on Tolvaron. They're huge, so it's really, really easy to get out of line of sight and stay out of line of sight for an extended period of time. Is there anything else about this map that we should really know about this matchup that we're about to see, especially for the Beast Cleave?
Not really the map, but one thing to note is Beast Cleave, this composition that Panda Gaming is going to be running, that Enhancement Shaman with that Hunter and Paladin. This is one of the highest damage compositions in the entire game. It's exceptionally hard to heal through as a Holy Pally. Chaz is going to have to make sure he's doing a really good job rotating through his defensive cooldowns, and if they overlap even just for a second, I think Panda Gaming is going to be able to take advantage of that and just sort of steamroll them.
So obviously, one of the biggest things about that Beast Cleave, like we were saying earlier, is that ridiculous amount of damage. Do you think this is a situation where if they don't get a kill in the first minute, they might be in trouble?
Yes, that is actually the case, I want to say, because it's so hard once you get behind the Shadow Priest Mage. They just have momentum. They get CC on the healer, they get CC on the guy they're not killing, they swap, they run away. They have a huge momentum shift after that first minute, but look for Panda Gaming to be really offensive here at the start and get a lot of pressure going.
Here we go, game number 2 between Method EU and Panda Gaming. We're going to have to see how this goes. The Beast Cleave coming up from Panda Gaming, this team that has been running all these different compositions. If you don't know exactly what to expect, this isn't a matchup I've seen so far. We'll have to see how it goes for them.
Yeah, and here's some opening damage coming out onto No Lifer. It looks like they're going to be going for Doe. They need to get that early polymorph on the Saji if they want to get some damage going. And Doe still taking a bit of damage here, but he's going to be absolutely fine. Frosty is not in Void from yet. He does get that Void Eruption off. There is a Hodge onto Doe, and he has popped the Bloodlust. They're going to be looking to do a ton of damage onto Frosty here. Drops to 20% immediately. They need to get their damage. Dark Archon needs to get in line side. There's a Sheep on the Doe. They're trying to peel them, trying to make sure that they don't have to waste cooldowns here. A huge Glacial Spike hits Dark Archon. He drops immediately. He has to use his defensive cooldowns. Not a good start for Panda Gaming here.
Yeah, having to use that aspect of the turtle immediately. It does look like Saji isn't moving around right now, so I don't know if there's some sort of problem going on. Doe getting low though as well. The silence going out onto Saji. This is a good start for Method so far, but I'm not. Yeah, I think something went on in this game. So
Doe just is going to go down right there. Yeah, that's going to be Doe falling. Method is going to be able to take that. That was a very weird game. It seems like something strange happened there. Not entirely sure. We will find out in just a second if there have been any sort of issues, but obviously a little bit of a rocky game there from Panda Gaming.
Yeah, they just, unfortunately, they pushed in. They used their offensive cooldowns. They did have a lot of momentum early on in that game, but as the game went on, it just didn't work out for them. They got overwhelmed by that damage.
Yeah, once you get CC'd under opener like that, it's important to be getting dispelled out of it, be trinketing them immediately, because they really have that first minute to get pressure going, and then they're going to start falling behind. They won't have their cooldowns for a couple minutes. And the Shadow Priest Mage has a lot of consistent damage. They're going to be constantly pressuring them with Glacial Spikes and the Shadow Priest damage. Shadow Priests are really consistent in this expansion and putting out a ton of damage, so they got to watch out for that.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like there weren't actually any issues there. It was just a matter of they just kind of got destroyed. So we will have to see where things go from here. Now, we were saying earlier that that first game on the Grand Arena is such a super important game. And that does now mean that Panda Gaming has the advantage in this series. Even though they're now tied 1-1, this next map and comp choice is going to be to their advantage. They will declare what map they want to play on, Method will declare what composition they're going to play, and then Panda Gaming will have the opportunity to counter comp that. So we will end up seeing if that's going to be a big deal for them here going forward, or if Method, they're just going to sit back and say, you know what, that first game, that was a bit weird, we've got it from here, and we'll see how that ends up going. Of course, like we said earlier, this is a best-of-5 series, so we are tied 1-1. We have at least 2 more games ahead of us, and we will be getting into this next one just as soon as possible.
Yeah, this is not a situation you want to be in as Method U. Of course, they did win that second game, but because Panda Gaming won that first game, they do have the opportunity now to basically counter-comp every other game. So if it does go to a best-of-5, they do have that big advantage, and that's not a position you want to be against a team like Panda Gaming, where they have so many different options available. They can counter-comp basically everything you do, and we've seen them do it in this tournament so far.
I did just get confirmation that there was an issue in that match. There was actually an issue that occurred with one of the players. So we will be replaying that game. We want to make sure everything is completely fair for everybody. We're going to go into that again. It's going to be the same comps again. It'll be the same match. Everything is going to be exactly the same. We're just going to play it out again, this time with a little bit less. I believe there was some sort of technical issue there. It's unfortunate. I believe it's actually Tasteless who's known for saying that technology is the vehicle of esports. And every once in a while, that vehicle gets a little bumpy in that road every once in a while. But no problem. It was a quick match. We're just going to replay it. We're going to start again. And so that does mean that the series is still at that 1-0 for Panda Gaming. They are up 1-0 in this series.
Yeah, in this matchup, Rodney, what do you think Panda Gaming really has to do in order to beat Method U?
They need to get cooldowns rolling early, like we were saying earlier. They need to get that pressure right off the bat. They need to put them on the back foot, get dispersion, get ice block right in the opener, and as soon as that happens, it's hard for Method to stay aggressive in the game. They're saying, okay, I don't want to push up because I don't have ice block, I don't have disperse, but if you have those cooldowns available as Shadow Priest Mage, you are able to push in and get CC onto Saji, and that's when they're able to take the game over.
So let's talk a little bit about those cooldowns, the big ones to watch for. Obviously on the Shadow Priest, you're going to be looking for that Void form. When they get that full Insanity bar, they go into Void form, they're going to be doing a lot of damage during that period of time, and it's going to be important for the other team to actually get some CC onto them, because as soon as they can't cast spells, they drop out of that Void form pretty much right away. It happens very, very quickly. The Mage as well, though, the big thing to look out from the Mage is that Glacial Spike as well as the Ice form. It causes them to just do a ton of damage, especially if they've gotten some decent icicles built up. The way Glacial Spike works, every time you cast a Frostbolt, you build an Icicle. Depending on how much damage that Frostbolt did, your Icicle then will do more damage. And there's also a couple of artifact traits that play into that as well. But what will happen then is when you use Glacial Spike, it actually kind of merges all those Icicles into one big mega Icicle that just beats the crap out of whoever you throw it at. So those are going to be the big things to watch for. How do you guys feel about how that's going to play out in this game? And specifically, is there anything else in that we should actually be looking out for? Like, what are the most important sort of kill condition moments for the Shadow Priest and the Frost Mage?
Yeah, that's one of the things Panda Gaming definitely has to watch out for in this game. The Shadow Priest as well as that Mage. That's why Shadow Priest Mage is such a good composition. You have that double threat. Both casters do a tremendous amount of damage. If you leave one of them alone, they are going to kill you. So they need to watch out for that. They need to make sure they have an eye on that caster that they're not on. Need to get that crowd control and line of sight if they have to.
All right, well, while we get everything sorted out on the stage to get into this next game, we are going to check in with Jackson really quick down on the stage. How's it going, man? How you feeling down there?
Hey, Josh, feeling pretty good, but just taking a few steps out on stage, and I'm looking across through teams. Panda Gaming, they're looking calm, looking relaxed. I see smiles. Method right now, they're a little knocked off their game, I believe. They caught them a little bit off guard with these compositions that we talked about, because Panda Gaming, they're here to bring it. And once again, we see another comp swap, another sort of thing that we may not have expected, the Beast Cleave. And I think Method, once again, they want to stick to what they know. They want to stick to that God comp that we've seen them practice and be successful with. But Panda Gaming is coming out with these burst compositions, making use of that enhancement shaman that absolutely melts these casters. I definitely think Method EU has their hands full with Panda Gaming right now. And like I said, attitude can play a big role in these tournaments. Once you're up on stage, we have a great crowd here today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And the energy here, it definitely helps fuel these teams. And right now, I think the energy is definitely in the swing of Panda Gaming right now.
We will find out here very shortly if that energy will be able to carry them through this series. Of course, they are already, wow, that was difficult for no good reason. They are already up 1-0 in this series, so they did very well in that first game on the Grand Arena. And again, like Jackson was saying, they have so many different compositions available to them that we don't even expect. Like, I wasn't expecting to see Beast Cleave. I don't know about you guys. Just the ability to switch between these different compositions. We've seen that work out really, really well in the past. Like, Tempo Storm is a team I mentioned earlier, has sort of made a name for themselves as being almost, they call themselves Counterstorm, or they don't call themselves Counterstorm. They get called Counterstorm a lot because they just have an answer to every single composition. They make sure that their players are very versatile and able to play multiple classes, multiple specs, so that way they have the ability to play into whatever it is that they need to get an advantage. Panda Gaming now showing they have the exact same thing directly up their sleeves.
Yeah, and one thing you want to look out for in this matchup is the amount of CC that Shadow Priest Mage Paladin has. They have the Polymorph from the Mage, the Fear from the Priest, and the Hodge from the Paladin. If they can get that rolling onto Saji again this next game, then they're going to have a huge advantage. There's also CC coming from the other team. They have that Hex. Hex has been pivotal in this matchup because Mages no longer can decurse that Hex. So it's huge for them if they can just keep consistently land these Hexes and get their damage going.
It definitely makes it a nightmare for Chaz to heal through that damage with that Hex coming out consistently. We're going to be looking for No Lifer as well as Frofsy to get out those burst damage, get out those crowd controls like Rodney was talking about. On the other side of things, we're going to have to see Panda Gaming making sure they're rotating through their defensive cooldowns and avoiding some of that incoming death, but also just doing that consistent damage that we saw coming out from that Enhancement Shaman as well as that Feral Druid. It's just so scary to deal with. Any target they go on is going to be taking a tremendous amount of damage, could ultimately die.
Yeah, and even with the Beast Cleave as well, there's still just a tremendous amount of damage. Obviously, that replaces the Feral Druid with the Beast Mastery Hunter. So then you have the Enhancement Shaman who can use his Doom Wind's artifact ability as well as his Bloodlust. He can cast his Bloodlust actually on both himself and his opponent, or his teammate, excuse me. So when that Bloodlust comes out on both Dark Archon as well as, sorry, the other member, who I can't, Dao, excuse me. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. So when that comes out on both Dao and onto Dark Archon, that's going to be a lot of damage, especially with the Bestial Wrath coming out from the Beast Mastery Hunter as well. It's just a ton of damage to have to deal with in just such a short period of time. And the biggest thing they're looking to do in that window is to pull out defensive cooldowns early on. They want to be able to get those defensive cooldowns out quick. But the cooldowns on the actual time it takes for the cooldowns to refresh of those offensive cooldowns coming out from the Beast Cleave is so short that they can cycle through the enemy team's defensive cooldowns very, very quickly and then eventually be able to score a kill. Because there's only so many times that you can survive through that Bloodlust, through that Doom Winds, through the Spirit Wolves, through the Beast Mastery, the Bestial Wrath. Like, there's only so many times you can live through that. There's only so many cooldowns you have that can survive that. Eventually you run out, and that's when you die.
Yeah, it sounds like a very familiar story for me. I've had the opportunity to go against Beast Cleave a couple of times. It's a very high damage comp. It's scary. And in this expansion, mages only have that one ice block on a 5-minute cooldown. So if they can force that early on, like Rodney was saying, they have a large opportunity, lots of Bloodlust, lots of Bestial Wrath to work through and try to end up scoring that kill.
It really reminds me of playing these double caster comps because I've played a lot of these before in the past in tournaments, and it's scary to play against high damage compositions because you can die right in the opener. You don't want to mess up in these tournaments, so I really feel for these guys. It's hard to keep your composition, keep yourself composed throughout the games, and it's just really rough when you just die in the opener, and I hope that does not happen to them.
So let's take a second and talk about Frofsy here. Now, Rodney, I know you have a little bit of experience playing Shadow Priest, just a little bit of time that you've spent playing Shadow Priest. How do you feel about the Shadow Priest now with the Legion changes and specifically the way that Frofsy has been playing him?
I really love Shadow Priest and Legion specifically. In PvP, it's been a blast. You get to do a ton of damage whenever you're in Void Form. It's really important to get into that Void Form early in the match to stop some of that pressure coming from the Beast Cleave. If you can get Vampiric Embrace rolling, get some damage going, you can really mitigate a lot of that burst, and you have those shields to help out with your teammates. So I'm really happy with the overall design, and I think he's playing really well.
And the other thing about Frofsy, too, is that he has a whole bunch of other different classes that he can play. He's kind of known for playing that Shadow Priest so far because that's what we've been seeing the most out of him. However, at the EU Championship, he was the one who stepped in and played Mage, having lost No Lifer for that particular tournament. And we know he has a